GT Divide Podcast going to another episode. Wisdom with Young G. I'm not young anymore. I'm about to be old as heck. I got a birthday coming up this week, actually. I'll be 35. Big 3-5. So we're going to talk a little bit about to men about, everybody out here wants to find true love. I get it 100%. But I think you have to understand that you have to be okay with being alone. I think that that is important. Um, Otherwise, your love and what you look for in a woman comes out of an attachment, right? And a lot of times, if it comes out of an attachment, it's wounds from when you're younger. And I'm gonna have a whole nother podcast talking about wounds from when we're younger and some parenting things that I've seen through the years. Um, like for instance, um, I obviously grew up in a different type of household and family setting than most other people. I know they say our divorce rate's like 50 to 60% or something like that. So maybe I did grow up in a household that's the majority, or the minority is when you got two parents together, right? And so obviously you're gonna have some trauma, you're gonna have some wounds there, and so you have to understand yourself. Number one, you have to understand who you are, what you're looking for, what you're about. Because once you understand what you're about, and that could be religious beliefs, that could be just beliefs in general. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm a Christian, so obviously I believe in Jesus, but I'm not saying you have to believe in Jesus. But if you believe it's something, those things obviously matter in the long run of being able to understand yourself in a manner that allows you to be able to discern um, issues with other people when you're out seeking a relationship. Because I know when we're younger as men, um, looks matter the most to us at that point in time. I know when I was younger, looks matter the most. So when looks matter the most to a man, you run into some issues because um, looks fade, beauty fades over time. And that's the reason why they say, woman's value fades over time because beauty fades. Like you're not going to always look like you're in your 20s. Eventually, you look like you're in your 30s. Eventually, you look like you're in your 40s. You just kind of move from there. Um, and so, men, we have to create value. So we have to work. We have to build wealth. Um, we learn to be secure in ourselves so that way we can provide security for the person that we're in a relationship with. If you got a family, you provide security for the people that you're in a relationship with and also your kids. Um, because I think security is something that is important and it can be security on a whole bunch of different fronts. Like you have security emotionally, financially, um, spiritual security is good. I don't say religion a lot because I don't believe that there's a lot of security in religion personally, because religion is such a vast thing, a vast. Um, it's basically a dichotomy of a whole bunch of different cultures, and so where you can't really have security in something that you can't really put a focus on anything in particular. So I usually say spiritual because when you're spiritual with your spouse, your significant other, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, um, there's a different type of connection there. And so I'm gonna let this guy speak though real quick before I dive deep into it. But yeah, he's talking about how as a man, in order for you to find true love, you have to be okay with being alone for the rest of your life. Because only then can you understand yourself enough to where you can be able to provide for a partner, but also be able to pick a partner that makes sense for you. If you pick a partner out of attachment, what happens is if you heal from whatever attachment or trauma that you have from your youth, then you will grow to a point where you and your partner may have some issues now because you're growing, right? People grow over time, people change. And so part of that is if you pick a person out of an attachment issue, you're more than likely going to eventually, if you work on yourself, you'll grow out of that attachment issue. And then that'll cause problems in the relationship.
The man can only ever find true love when he is okay with being alone for the rest of his life. Outside of that, what the man will attract is not love, it's an attachment. And a man will.
And that's key. What the man will attract is not love, it's an attachment. And so just because somebody says that they love you doesn't mean they actually love you. Their love is, I mean, we can go into a whole different months worth of podcasts about love. But you have to understand that. there's a difference between, a bond that is purely due to attachment or trauma, and then love itself, right? Those are two different types of bonds, and each has their own issues, because obviously when you love somebody, you're gonna have issues there. When you have a trauma bond, or you're bonded to somebody because of an attachment issue, you're gonna have an issue there. And so you have to understand that those two things are two different things, and they come from two different realms. But he's right though. If you are not okay with being alone for the rest of your life, like if you can't be alone, you can't be together. And I think that people don't understand that, because even in a relationship, there's times when you're going to do things on your own. You're going to have to go make moves on your own. Yeah, you're with a partner, but you're going to have your time. Your partner is going to have their time. So when you're in a relationship and your woman wants to go out and do some things with her friends, she's going to have her time. That's her alone time. Whereas you go out with your buddies, you guys go play pool, you guys go watch football, whatever it may be that you guys do, that is going to be your time. So you're going to have your opportunity and that moment to be able to really grow yourself individually. Because if you don't grow yourself individually, you're not going to be able to grow the relationship. People think that you can just grow a relationship and you can't grow individually, and that's doesn't make any sense. The two things go together. You have to have one to have the other, and that's something that I try to get people to understand.
Will never find true love if he is searching for it from a need, because that need is attached to a wound, and that wound came when he was a little boy. And until he heals that in the deepest parts of him, then whoever he attracts and whatever he attracts, it will never fulfill him. But ultimately, what he's really looking for is a reconnection to his own heart. And until he does that, and until he's ready to step into a space where he literally no longer needs a woman, then and only then will he ever be able to find true love.
And he said true love, and I like what he says back here about um, a need, because obviously if you attract, you'll attract what you are. Um, and that's something that you'll learn. And something like sometimes you got to step outside of, once you get out of the relationship, you like realize like, dude, I attracted what I am, because you realize that you were doing things during the relationship as a man that you shouldn't have been doing, and so now you're like, man, it's like karma. It comes full circus, full circle. So you have to understand personally that you have to be able to heal yourself, because most relationships that people have and issues that they have in relationships are based on childhood trauma. You learn how to have relationships when you're a kid. And that's why parenting is so, so, so important. And that's something that I'm going to give you guys a quick just synopsis on parenting. There's a couple different types of parents that I've seen in my lifetime that are out there. Overbearing is one. The parent that's like over the top a little bit, does things for their kids, won't really let their kids go do anything, right? So you're like, they're always doing stuff for them. If you're overbearing as a parent, you're always doing stuff for your kids, they're going to require that in a relationship when they get older. They're going to need to find a spouse that's going to do everything for them, because that is what they grew up. That's how they learn. So they were taught that behavior at a young age, and that sets the expectation, right? There's the judgmental part, the judgmental parent that judges everything that you do. Always has something to say about something you're doing, right? And you can tell when the parent's judgmental because their kids are judgmental too. If your kids are judgmental as a parent, then that's because you are judgmental yourself. And if you have a judgmental parent, you're always going to feel judged. So when you grow older, you're not going to be able to take criticism from anybody else in a relationship that you're in a relationship with. You're not going to be able to take criticism because they're not going to be able to tell you anything, because you're going to feel judged. You're going to go back to that childhood wound of, oh, man, like never feeling good enough. A lot of people with their insecurities and not feeling good enough is because they had judgmental parents. Their parents judged them constantly. One thing that I've learned as a parent over the years that I hope helps my kids as they grow up is that I tell them I love them when they haven't done anything. They're just sitting on the couch. Hey, man, I love you, Mike. Give them a kiss on the forehead. That way they know daddy loves you no matter what, man. Now, I'm going to get on you when you don't act right. I'm going to praise you when you do good things. But that way you don't have to feel like you have to fish for love. You don't have to work for it, right? It's something that is literally you love yourself enough, teach your kids how to love themselves enough to where they don't have to go fishing for love. Because if they're going to go fishing and searching and they're out here um, doing things for love, then what's going to happen is they're easily deceived. You put your kids in a position where they can be easily deceived. Somebody can throw love out there, and it might not be real love. So they have to understand what real love is. And then there's the the angry parent, right? Angry, always yelling, cursing, um, always has yelling, cursing. There's no stability, right? And so if you grow up with an angry parent as an individual, that's always yelling, always screaming, always hollering, always loud. There's never any stability. There's never consistency and calm, right? You grow up with that type of parent, you will crave chaos in life. Chaos will make you feel good because that's what you lived in. Your comfort to a level of chaos is going to be something that you look for in relationships. So then you'll seek out people that will cause chaos because chaos makes you feel comfortable. And if you feel comfortable with chaos, right, then that's the type of relationship you're going to be in, and you'll create chaos. So you can get a calm, relaxing woman if you're a man that has been in had a chaotic childhood. You can get that type of woman that's just calm and cool, and you'll create chaos because you need to have chaos in your life in order for you to feel loved. And then there's the worst type of parent on the planet. If you're one of these parents, damn, I feel bad for your kids. There's the narcissistic parent, the parent that thinks that they do no wrong, the parent that thinks that they're better than everybody else, the parent that, and when you get a parent like this, they're a combination of all the things, right? They're a combination of judgmental, extremely judgmental. These type of parents, they're judgmental to everybody else but themselves. They put themselves on a pedestal, and kids catch up, and kids can see this. They catch on this, right? So typically, when you have a narcissistic parent, your kids end up being the same exact way. Couple traits of a narcissistic parent that I'll throw out there before we get out of here, guys. Number one, right? They will hold everybody else accountable, not themselves. They don't want accountability. They're about image. A lot of times you have a narcissistic parent, they're about what other people think. They worry about what other people think. If this person thinks good of me, I'm good. But behind closed doors, they're a different person behind closed doors, right? They typically can manipulate their kids. So their kids grow up in a manner of constantly being manipulated all the time, constantly being on edge. Um, and so offspring, kids that grow up in these environments end up doing the same things to their partners. So they will literally judge heavily, think that they're better than everybody else. Um, Typically, you get men that will I call it move the goalposts. You'll succeed on the thing that they ask you to do, and they'll move the goalposts on. Well, I need you to do this, this, and this, and it keeps like so. You're always chasing something. If you feel like you're always chasing something in a relationship, you're chasing validation from that person, but they'll never give it to you. You're chasing love for that person, but they only give it to you when you give them something. So it's a transactional relationship. You have transactional parenting, which creates kids that end up having transactional relationships. If you find yourself in that matter, in that type of relationship, you need to go to counseling. If you're not going to counseling, then you're not healing. And healing is key in these situations. And so that's one thing I learned over time. That's just to throw a little bit out you that the understanding is that how a kid is treated when they're younger this will determine their relationship status when they get older. Parents don't understand how much their children rely on them to teach them the ways to have relationships with other people. I mean, if you have a narcissistic parent, typically they don't have a lot of friends. People say, "Oh, I keep my circle closed. I keep my circle closed because this and that and the other." If you don't have a lot of friends, if you don't have people that you can confide in, you got one, two, three friends. That's it, or one good friend, and then you just kind of got a whole bunch of acquaintances. Like that's because you don't have the ability to have those relationships, right? If you don't have the ability to have those relationships and put other people ahead of yourself, then it's hard for you to be able to grow in a manner that people want to come and flock to you. People can tell when your energy is something that's good, or when your energy is something that's not good. And so they get that. And so you get that from parenting. So parenting really can turn, you can parent a man into being the type of man that no woman will want, or you can parent a man into being the type of man that everyone wants. And it's just up to you as a parent to decide what you want to do. Now, if you're a parent, you're a narcissist, you need to go to counseling. But most parents that are narcissists don't believe that they That's the problem with narcissistic people, is that they don't believe that they're narcissists, so they don't believe they need help. So they won't get it. They like how they are. And that's the problem. So then their kids end up, and then you just keep going down the line, because then your kids treat their kids like that, and then their kids treat their kids like that, and then you just have it's a generational curse. And so I think that just because parents are together doesn't mean that that's a great example of a relationship, right? There are some relationships that don't the people that don't need to be dead. You don't that you see, so you see how they interact, and you take from that. And so I think that men have to love themselves, learn themselves, own up to themselves, be themselves, and not have a need when they're looking for love. Because then you're just looking for something to fill a void, as opposed to love itself. This is GT Divide Podcast. Again, I'm out. Appreciate you guys. Please like, subscribe, and share as we continue to grow. See you on the next one.